Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies. Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including Indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 26, and Thursday, rain and snow possible with a high of 45. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, this episode is presented in partnership with the city of Minneapolis for Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations, who hosts a monthly conversation on the second Wednesday of the month regarding happenings that impact our Native communities in Minneapolis. We're grateful for this partnership to keep up to date on topics that can better support our largest urban Indian population in the country. I'll pass things along to our Minneapolis American Indian Community Specialist and guest host, Christine McDonald. Hoa, Christine.
Hi, Buju. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for being with us tonight. Buju, Ogadaki, Gabuik, Nindijnakas, Ajijak, Nindundem. I'm Christine McDonald. I'm the American Indian Community Specialist with the city of Minneapolis, and I'm your host tonight for Minneapolis American Indian Relations. And today we begin with two guests from the Metro Transit Police Department to talk about the department's homeless action team. Welcome, Officer Kat and Lieutenant Mohamad. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we just get started? And can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about what you do? Let's start with Lieutenant Mohamad.
Okay, sure. So a little bit about myself. I grew up in St. Paul. I'm a native Minnesotan. I spent all of my high school time there, and I went to St. Cloud State for my undergrad. And before I came back to the cities and became a police officer with Metro Transit, I've been here for 10 years now. And during those 10 years, I've done different units, the homeless action team being one of them. I was an officer and now a supervisor of the unit. So I've been really grateful to have served on this team. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Officer Kat.
Hi, I am Officer Kat Kompelien. I actually started my journey as getting into the police world as a St. Paul Police Reserve officer. And from there, I decided to join Metro Transit Police as a community service officer. So just kind of learning the ropes before taking the dive into getting licensed. So I did that for 2.5 years, and then I became a full-time police officer with Metro Transit in 2015, where I just worked patrol, worked the green line and the blue line. And then in 2018, we formed a specialized unit called the Homeless Action Team, where I have been on the team since.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you guys tell us what is the Homeless Action Team? That's what we're here to talk about tonight. So can you give us a little quick overview?
Sure. Kat, you want to go ahead?
I would love to. Basically, we formed our team in 2018 to focus on the unsheltered individuals utilizing transit for unattended purposes. We just knew that there was a huge need for police officers to be out there in community trying to help individuals that are struggling and utilizing transit to sleep on or to get shelter on. So we formed a unit in 2018 without realizing that we had our own housing authority through Metro HRA. So when we first started, we just were going out there with food and socks and clothing and hygiene, just going out there to serve and to try to get them into shelter. And then we realized that the Met Council has a housing authority. So we were able to work with them to get housing vouchers. So we're the only police department in the state of Minnesota that actually houses our unsheltered. So it's just such a blessing to work on this unit and to actually take people in the community that are struggling and get them off the streets and into permanent housing.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that interaction would look like, how you would interact with someone, how would you get connected to them and then have them get a voucher and what that voucher means for them?
Yeah, sure. We actually, like today, we are on Franklin, at the LRT Franklin platform in South Minneapolis. We go there every Wednesday to do street outreach, and we usually serve during outreach 60 to 100 to 150 people. They see our bus, and they know that we have social workers with us, outreach workers. We have clothing, snacks, food, 50-cent ID forms. So if they want to a lot of times they just come and take what they need, but if they are interested in more services, we just actually kind of go through a screening with them, like, hey, where are you staying? Are you working with a social service agency? Why don't you sign this release of information? That release of information we can use to contact the social service agencies or the counties to see how we can assist you. It's just about really just building that bridge in the community with the unsheltered. And we just keep showing up every week. We show up in South Minneapolis to try to give back. And so they see us, and maybe they won't talk to us the first time when we're doing outreach, but maybe the second time or their third time, they'll get more comfortable with us or being around us. Obviously, we're in uniform. And then we're able to kind of screen them, have them sign that release, and then kind of go through a process on what that looks like. Do you have any evictions with Section 8? Do you have any felony criminal history? What are the barriers here? We are connected with EOSIS. treatment centers, like, do you need to go to treatment first so we can be successful in housing? So we're just there to be like a one-stop shop to offer them resources to get them where they need to be.
And so if somebody gets a voucher, how do they get a voucher? What does the voucher actually do for them?
I will turn that over to Lieutenant Mohamad.
Sure, yeah. That's a really good question. So, after that release of information is signed, it allows us to contact, like Officer Kat said, the different social worker agencies, but also to share that information with our regional housing authority. They fill out an application similar to a Section 8 or public housing application, and that's when that process begins for them to begin that housing search. But as Officer Kat said, there's that pre-screening first, and then afterwards there is follow-up background checks to ensure that there isn't anything that would disqualify the person from getting a voucher. And if there are, then our team still works with that individual and tries to figure out how we can get through those barriers, because that's not going to be the last stop. And after they are awarded the housing voucher, we work with them on the housing search. So either our team does that, or someone from the regional housing authority does help them with the housing search. And after that, it's move in, and even then we don't let go. We help them move in with the things that they currently have, or help them purchase housing supplies that they need, such as beds, kitchen supplies, bathroom supplies, things like that. And it's still, to this day, we have clients over the years that will still reach out, that still need help, of course, and we're there to support them.
I did not realize the extent of assistance that you guys provide to our relatives on the street.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that, like, you can help them, like, obtain the different pieces of things that you need to make a place a home. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
How long does it typically take? Does it take a long time?
So
go ahead, Kat.
Yep. So like right now we're working with we just got 10 more housing vouchers. So we usually can try to like fast track it. Like we had a female that's pregnant. So obviously we'd really try to fast track it. So once they get approved for the Section 8 housing voucher, the housing authority goes in and inspects that apartment. And then we bring our client in to sign a lease. With that lease signing, once they sign the lease and the inspection passed, they can move in. So, I mean, it is a big process, but usually I can get them in within 6 to 8 weeks.
That's amazing. Thanks. We'll be back.
Hey, we'll be right back. You're listening to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio. Oh.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this episode is supported by the City of Minneapolis with Minneapolis Air, American Indian Relations. And here's our guest host, Christine McDonald. Ho-wah!
Welcome back. I'm Christine McDonald with the City of Minneapolis, and this evening we are talking with Officer Kat and Lieutenant Mohamad with the Metro Transit Police Department about the Homeless Action Team. And before we went to break, we got into a little bit about the housing vouchers that individuals get from the Homeless Action Team and the length of time that that can be. I wanted to follow up with that. Like, are there instances where maybe a housing voucher isn't appropriate? There's something more immediate. How do you guys respond when somebody has an immediate need?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So everybody has an immediate need, I guess.
Of course, yeah, and I think Officer Kat kind of touched on it a little bit. Let's say, for example, we are at an outreach event, and someone is, suffering from in an addiction cycle. That person probably is not ready for a housing voucher. We want them to be successful, and that's why that partnership with Oasis is really helpful in that case. And if that person is ready to take that step, of course, then we guide them and still work with them that entire time. And when they get out, that's when we can really start that paperwork process and move them forward into permanent housing. And if maybe they need to start with temporary housing, we can there are options to work with that as well, just so that there's a higher chance that they won't re-engage in that behavior.
Have you guys always had the mobile unit, or was the work as it started, did you eventually get the bus?
Yeah, I think we eventually got the bus. It's been pertinent for us, especially when we're out in outreach, and it was designed for our outreach partners as well. We are able to do, medical assessments on there. We have a computer, and our social worker partners can hook up to their computers and figure out where they are in their process and see if they can get them connected to the appropriate resources, county resources. So it really is multifaceted. And then there was a point where we were able to provide community IDs as well. That was a really big piece for people who lose their documentation. So it's really an all-encompassing bus. And I know Officer Kat jokes around about being the bus driver, but she does a great job of taking it from location to location.
Yeah. So you mentioned social workers and working. I guess my question is more like, how many different counties, when we talk about Metro Transit and you're part of the Metropolitan Council, how many different counties is that?
8 different counties. So even though our bread and butter, is Ramsey County and Hennepin, but we really are all over as far as our services goes, and even those that request our services from Washington to Dakota, Anoka County. It's spread really wide all over the metro.
You mentioned that you have the social workers. Are there other partners that are actually on that mobile unit with you?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Absolutely. We actually have outreach workers that you just have people that come and volunteer. We have a big community of people in recovery. We have a gentleman that's been on our team for 2 years. He was one of our biggest drug users and dealers on the transit system. He tapped me on the shoulder 2 years ago and said, "I'm sober now. How can I help?"
Wow.
And he comes out with us every week. I just saw him at Franklin, and it's just such a blessing. I mean, he caught 7 felonies from transit police, and he shows up. He's been sober, and it's such a blessing to have people with lived experience on our team, because when I'm getting on the train with those people, they remember him. Hey, how's it going, sir? Oh, I'm sober. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. If I can do it, you can do it. Hey, you want to get off the train? The bus is over here. Let's talk to Officer Cat and get you some help or get you into treatment. How can I? And so we have these people that come on our team that show up every week for us to that have lived experience, and it's just the most beautiful thing. So we have those people that show up every week. A lot of them are in recovery, recovering from drug addiction and alcoholism. And then we also have licensed social workers that come out from Hennepin County. So they come on the train. They were just on the train with me today, and they've got their backpack, they've got their computer. So a lot of, like, we just sat with a person the other day who had an open housing referral, didn't even know about it. Excuse me, didn't even know about it. And that social worker was able to pull up her computer and say, hey, you have an open referral to Simpson House. I mean, how beautiful is that? That person probably didn't have the resources to go to a library or to go to 1800 Chicago, or didn't even know. And we were able to get them to Simpson Housing with their housing referral. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing to have the social workers and the people with the lived experience on our team showing up for the community with the police. It's such a blessing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you have plans in place when it's severe weather, inclement weather, severe cold? Do you have, and what kind of partners do you work with?
We work with both the counties, mainly Hennepin and Ramsey County, that have those inclement weather policies in place. And of course, Metro Transit has our own internal policies, but that's been really helpful to get folks into warming spaces through the counties, or even those cooling stations as well in the hot summer months. But I think what's really important is that for us to all show some compassion, no matter what the person is going through in their personal lives. Like, we are all human, and we all need somewhere to be and be able to live.
That's absolutely amazing. I love having you guys on and being able to share all this information with community. There's quite a bit that I didn't understand or realize myself, so this has been really helpful. And I know you guys have actually brought the mobile unit to the Minneapolis Community Connections Conference. I'd hope to see that we can have that happen again. We're taking a break this year. I believe we're having our conference next year. Is there other ways that you work with the Minneapolis Native community?
Yeah, so we have an outreach liaison person who is really great with us to help us bridge that gap with the Native American community. So we're out at different outreach events. Native Rise is an example of that. We are always a part of. Whenever there's recruitment opportunities within the Native community, especially at AIOIC, we're there as well. So any way that we can partner is going to be helpful for us and informative.
Yeah. Also to comment on that too is we work with Little Earth when we for like our toy drive. We make sure that the cops show up with a ton of toys for the community in Little Earth. We've been at job fairs in the community as well, and it also just gives us the opportunity to be out there showing up in uniform in a positive manner, right? To build that trust within the community again. And so showing up in uniform and giving back, I feel like it's it just shows trust, and it builds trust, and then people can be more apt to, come and talk to us or file a police report or talk to us if they're experiencing any sort of trauma or they want advice. We are human beings as well, but we want to definitely show up for the community in those ways.
Can you tell me what should riders do if they see something dangerous happening or if someone is in crisis?
Well, I would say the first thing is to call 911, especially if it's in an emergency. And of course, we have like a text for safety number for Metro Transit. If you are on the transit system and you don't feel safe calling on the phone, there is that text that you can report that information. We are currently working with many social service agencies, one being Mental Health Minnesota that can help with those crises. And Canopy Roots has just signed a contract as well with us, which will be great, exactly, to help those that are experiencing a crisis on the system. And of course, our officers are all trained to do that. I mean, our HAT officers specifically, but as well as our patrol. So first call 911, and if you don't feel safe to do that, our non-emergency line or text for safety is a good resource as well.
I remember being in a meeting a while back, and I don't know if this is still true or not, but there was a request for people who witness crimes to actually file those reports, to make those phone calls, because without a phone call, without a report, it's like the crimes didn't happen. So that things were coming in, people were talking about instances happening, but then Metro Transit would go in and try to look through police reports and they wouldn't find anything.
Yeah, that's why we're really pushing for that text for safety. I know some people don't feel comfortable. You're right in the midst of it to pick up a phone and call, but for us to track that data somehow and figure out where our resources should be going as far as staffing goes. I know we just opened up a beat officers in the Franklin Cedar area, so they're known as the Franklin Beat, and that came from those calls for service in that area, and we saw that increase in police activity, and those officers now are able to really focus on the crime in that area and target those issues. So those 911 calls, although they might seem a little bit redundant, I'm calling on the same things over and over again, it really does help us track as far as staffing goes and where we can get the right people in the right places.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience tonight, or anything that you want to repeat and make sure that people keep at the top of their mind?
I would say similar to what Officer Kat said earlier, we're human just like everyone else. Please come and join us at our outreach at Franklin Station every Wednesdays. And if you just want to come and help and support, and if there's any activities or events that you have in the Native community, we would love to be a part of it. Please invite us.
What time is that at on Wednesdays?
At 1 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Okay. At the LRT station?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It was great having you guys on.
Thank
you for having us.
Right on. Hey, we'll be right back. You're listening to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agejagwa Desnigowaweni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. Simas presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agay Jagwa Desnigowaweni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. CEMAS presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 26, and Thursday, rain and snow possible with a high of 45. Step into Forts at Children's Theater Company. It's an interactive fort-building adventure where theatrical elements and towering cardboard boxes spark shared creative play. Weekday availability during local spring breaks. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, this episode is supported by the city of Minneapolis with Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations. And here's our guest host, Christine McDonald.
Thank you. Welcome back. I'm Christine McDonald, American Indian Community Specialist with the City of Minneapolis. And for the second segment of the show, we're going to be talking with Karem Black with the City of Minneapolis Housing Liaison Team. Welcome, Karem. I'm so happy to have you back with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here. This is such a great space. I just learned something really good.
Yes. And then we're going to keep on the subject of housing. We're going to go into rental rights. But first, can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us about you and then what you do?
Yes, absolutely. I am a resident here of Minneapolis for the last 27 years, and I'm a social worker. So my background is social work. I did a lot of housing stabilization in Hennepin County. And then now I'm here at the city, and that's where my passion is, to advocate for individuals who don't always know their rights and don't know what they can do in situations and how they can be in charge of their outcome.
Mm-hmm. I think that part, being in charge of your outcome, I've always felt like as a renter that I didn't have a lot of power or rights, or that I could be in charge. It was just at the whim of the landlord and the owners.
That's unfortunate, Christine. And that's how even the word landlord, we try to get away from that because it implies a power position. And unfortunately, when I, even still now in 2026, working with residents, everyday renters, there is this thought that they are lower than the property manager or the owner of their home. And that's what we do. That's what my team does, empower residents and renters to know that they absolutely, it is a relationship. It is a business relationship. That's what it is. You can't out the other. Neither one has a higher position.
Yep. It took me a while to realize that too, because it always felt like they have the control. They're in control of the lease. They are in control of my housing, my ability to be in this apartment. But then there was like a flip in thought, a change in thought when I realized like it is the business relationship.
Good.
Like, it was like, wait a minute, I'm paying their bills. I'm paying their mortgage. They're getting something out of this too. And I
ding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like that light bulb moment. So what rights do renters have when they're facing an eviction?
When you're facing an eviction here in the city of Minneapolis, you have a right to know what you're facing eviction for. and you have a timeline. The timeline used to be 14 days to give you notice, but now it's 30 days. So they have to provide a 30-day notice that they're going to file eviction. It's called the pre-eviction filing. So you have rights to, and I think that's what I should say we deal with a lot. It's the false eviction notices. It's the ones that aren't real. They're saying, oh, you have to be out by this date. No, that is not court document. That is not proper process. That is not due process. So we do a lot of referring to legal representation, Homeline, legal aid, Civil Rights Department, just because oftentimes people are taken advantage of, renters are taken advantage of, but they're told something that's not true. Something else I dealt with a lot recently is illegal lockouts. So they go to court and they lose, the landlord or the property manager owner loses. And the resident, the renter goes home and all the locks are changed.
Oh, wow. That's scary. That's never even crossed my mind. But like that adds into that whole, if you've ever had anything happen, extenuating circumstances outside of your control, and you're like 2-3 days late, and then you come home one day and there's this notice on your door, like you got to get out. And people just feel like they've got it. Like, that's it. What am I going to do? I have to move out. And not understanding there is that time. Like that's, like you said, that's not the real eviction. That's just notice too.
And they sign up for that. You're both signing. They're providing a legal document. You're signing to it, and you both have your end to hold up of the business contract. And there is due process. They have to communicate with you. You have to know. You have to know deadlines, and you have to know dollar amounts. You can't make up a different late fee every month. Like if they're taking advantage of the fact, maybe your paycheck always comes the day after the last day rent is accepted. That's a very common thing. You know, why every time the fee is different? That's not, you know, and that's where we come into play. We do mediation. We like to have conversations if we can. Sometimes just saying, hi, I'm calling from the city of Minneapolis and this is going on. It's interesting how often just a phone call like that will help a resident in their situation.
You mentioned varying late fees. Does the city or the state have like a limitation on what late fees can be?
It can't exceed a certain percentage, but where a lot of property managers mess up is they fail to document it in the lease. They don't put a dollar amount in. So then they'll tell them verbally, oh, well, it's $100 or $150. And if there's nothing written in that lease, there's no dollar amount, really legally, you don't have to pay any late fees.
Oh,
so
wow.
I always tell people, when you're going over that lease, know what late fees are, know when it gets applied, because some people do not know that they have until the end of the business day on the 3rd day of the month or the 5th day of the month. Some people just presume that it's after the 1st, and it's not. So know what you're signing, know what the small print is and the details of your lease.
What programs does the city have, or is there state-run programs that are around to help people who are at risk of losing housing? And then especially like right now in this time that we're seeing where people have struggled to get to work, to bring home their paycheck, people have been struggling with their businesses. What kind of safety nets are there?
Right now, the safety nets that have always been in place is Hennepin County Emergency Assistance. The city of Minneapolis, we do not have funding available for offsetting rent expenses or cost. We refer to the county, and then oftentimes if the county can't assist, there are other agencies, local agencies. Oftentimes you can find those agencies through like your local food shelf, and even like a local church or organization in the neighborhood. But city of Minneapolis does not have funding for rent.
Is there a quick number? I thought I heard it was either like, I know it's not 311, I know it's not 411. Is there like a 211 or something like that that people can call and find information on rental assistance?
Oh, you can absolutely call 311. Yeah, 311 absolutely provides, yes, resources.
Okay.
Absolutely. They're very helpful too. They have a lot of information, just city-based wanting. Yeah, 311 is a great number to have.
And then you mentioned that the city itself doesn't have the funding. I know our city council did move, was it $1 million? There was a amount of money that was being provided for rental assistance, but my understanding is that it was going to Hennepin County because they are the ones who are in the do that part of the work of getting the funding out to individuals.
Right, and it's not enough money. And
it's not enough money.
No, it's not. And from what I read, that it's also for businesses as well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So businesses that
we
have
forget that businesses can be evicted too.
Right. And I know today, Fry, he vetoed the extension of, they were asking now for 60-day pre-eviction notice, and the council split on it, and Fry vetoed it. But the thing is it's a hard conversation because all the property managers and homeowners that rent aren't millionaires. There aren't, they're mom and pop. They're so we have to it's a lot to take into consideration. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I think one of the things that I wanted to stress is your point, though, that the city does not have that money. We don't do that part of it. While that money was set aside, to access those funds, you have to go through Hennepin County.
Yes, you have to go through Hennepin County. And the biggest thing I tell everyone, try to get some type of income that shows that you're resolvable and you're sustainable moving forward. Because if something puts you in a situation, they want to be able to see that moving forward, you're not going to be in that situation. Of course, that doesn't guarantee you won't be, but the likelihood of your financial situation changing and being able to not get in the situation that you're currently in with the housing.
Are you familiar with the program offered to the public schools? Can you speak on that?
Healthy homes or healthy schools.
Stable homes.
Stable homes. Yes, it's through MPHA. Yes.
Oh, MPHA.
Yeah.
So it's offered through our students in the Minneapolis public school system.
Yep. Correct.
So what if somebody doesn't actually have a lease? How would they? I mean, are there situations like if you established a residency somewhere or residence?
So residency can actually still be established regardless of a lease or not. If you have any verbal communication, I'm sorry, not verbal, but text communication, email communication with the property owner, property manager, that you've agreed upon a certain dollar amount monthly. If there's been any communication back and forth about dates of moving in. So documentation is always important. We do have residents who are put in situations by no fault of their own because of the property manager or the owner not fixing something, not completing something that a inspector has advised. And now they have to move out and they have to find a place, and it's no fault of their own. And so
does that fall under the 30-day eviction notice then?
No. So depending on what it is that the violation is being written, depends on when they have to move. So if it's something that's emergent, they might be given 3 days and have to move.
Oh no.
And in a situation like that, we sometimes can get some money into the renter's hands, but then ultimately the owner pays for it through taxes, just because they've put this family in a situation that, and we see it happen monthly.
Hey, we'll be right back. You're listening to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio. Ho-wah.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies. I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. This episode is supported by the City of Minneapolis with Minneapolis AIR, American Indian Relations. And here's our guest host, Christine McDonald. Ho!
Thank you. Welcome back. I'm Christine McDonald, American Indian Community Specialist with the City of Minneapolis. And in our conversation tonight, we have Carmen Black with the Minneapolis Housing Liaison Team, and we're talking about renters' rights. Let's jump right back into our conversation. And can you tell our listeners what people should know about dealing with maintenance issues in their homes?
Maintenance issues, again, I'm always going to refer back to communication, and not just communication, but documented communication. I'm always advise, first, if you have maintenance issue that needs to be addressed, oftentimes nowadays there might be a database where you can log in, you have a profile, and you can report it. But it's always good to send an email directly. If you have a direct email, if you have a phone number that you can text, let them know the date that it initially happened, how long you've been dealing with it, and then of course what the situation is. And then document when you hear back from them and what their response is. Did they come and fix it? Did they just tell you they were going to fix it? But document everything. When you communicate with them the second time and say, I emailed you initially on this date. Now it's this date, and I still haven't heard anything. Just because, remember, you're documenting with the ideal that you might have to bring that in front of a judge or bring that to court. And so your communication is clear, and you're bringing up instances of which you've already attempted to communicate with them, but you're bringing it up in writing again, just to be very clear. So document. Mm-hmm. And when you don't get the answer that you need, then you call 311. You tell 311. They're looking for certain keywords. So if you're saying things like retaliation, or my heat is below 68 degrees and it's in the cold weather months, there's certain things that individual on the phone at 311 is looking to hear, which will trigger where it goes next. So if it'll go to a fire inspector, because it would go to a fire inspector if there's 3 units or more. It would go to a housing inspector if it's 1 or 2 units in the building. It'll come to housing liaisons based on what you say. And so call 311 if you feel like things are going unaddressed and you're paying rent every month. You do absolutely have options. You don't, you can go in front of a judge and say, look, I've been paying my rent, and it happened a lot this past winter. I've been paying my rent every month and it barely reaches 65 degrees here. Well, that's not okay. You absolutely have rights in that situation. There's things that you can do. You can withhold rent in a legal way. There's a process to it. I always tell people, try to get into housing court on the 3rd floor at Hennepin County, probably 2 weeks prior to when rent is due again, and tell them what you're dealing with. And you can get in front of a judge almost always within 2 weeks and say, look, this is a situation I've been living with. I've had a mice infestation. I have roaches. Here's pictures. Here's proof. I have, my door doesn't secure. The front door doesn't secure properly. If you want to, you can open the door from the street. Document that. Have that conversation, and the judge will decide if you should be given the option to put your rent into escrow. And escrow means that you're paying the court your rent. The money is not going to the property manager, to the owner. It's going to the court. And then outlined by the judge, they'll tell you, okay, you have until this date to fix this. And then if it's not fixed, they say you can break this lease and you can move out with all the money that's in escrow because they didn't fix the things that need to be fixed. So you have options, you have rights. Sometimes it takes communication and a little work on your end, but it's worth it.
So are there people that help renters navigate through those types of processes?
Yes, Homeline. Homeline is a tenant advocacy group. I know I believe they started here in South Minneapolis, and I don't know if they're in this area anymore, but they're in the city of Minneapolis. They're great. They can tell you exactly what to expect when going through the eviction process, what a judge might have to say to you, what type of documentation you may need to provide, and just kind of prepare you for what you're about to experience.
So your first line, if your maintenance issues aren't getting done, is to call the city of Minneapolis. Call 311.
Call 311, yes.
And they'll send out the appropriate inspector.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. If of course, if it's code-based, but they'll also, it's not just getting connected with inspectors. It's also referring you to agencies that can help with different things, and that would be Homeline. That would be ARS, Adult Representation Services. They're out of Hennepin County. They're a real good one. They'll connect you with different agencies that can help represent you in a situation you shouldn't be in the first place.
Right. You mentioned the temperature in your apartment or your home not getting above 65. So I've heard about something called the cold weather rule. Is that the same thing as the minimum temperature regulation?
The cold weather rule is more rule to support renters and residents in a situation where they can't pay their heating bills, because heating bills can get expensive. So basically the cold weather rule is that your heat, the way that your home is heat, cannot be turned off due to a lack of payment during the cold weather months. And I believe it's October 1 through May 15th.
So is it a state law? Is it a city law? I've heard of instances like if you can't pay your utilities and utilities get shut off, then an eviction could follow that.
Yes, because you can't live in a home without warm water. I actually heard an inspector having a conversation with someone today on the phone, telling them that they have to get their water turned back on.
Mm-hmm. And right now there's places that offer utility assistance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's called energy assistance, and you can on your phone, you can Google and you can fill out everything online. You can have them send you out applications. If you need an application, you can call 311 and request how to get one. you can contact my team, the housing liaisons. We can get you on, absolutely no problem. And I always tell people too, if you need me to run it to you, I can just bring it over. I can help you fill it out. Yeah, I mean, just because, we all don't have
time for everybody.
Yeah, we all don't have the same capacity, and we all have different abilities, and you got to be able to meet people where they're at. So, yeah. So sorry, the assistance, the energy assistance is a great program. It's a state program, so it's state funded, and what you do is they decide based on your income, based on what you pay in housing expenses, a grant amount for the season. So let's say you get $400 and your bill might be $150 a month, but that $400 is helpful. It's quite helpful. It'll definitely keep you from getting disconnected.
Are there other new renter rights that people should know before we?
Maybe
we don't need that.
Well, let me think of something new. Well, the one that they're trying to get into place now is the pre-eviction process to last longer, 60 days instead. But since we had this campaign, everyone has renters' rights. Are there new ones? Sometimes the codes can change a little, or something could be added here or there. But you absolutely have rights. If you want to know more about them, 311, and you can email housing liaisons at minneapolismn.gov.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the great information.
Thank you.
There was a lot of great information. Peony Gigi, thank you so much. This has been Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio.
The city of Minneapolis is now on